Hello everyone, my name is Young-il Kim and my home country is North Korea. From my birth in 1978 until 1996 when I defected, I lived in North Korea. In September 1996, I escaped North Korea with four of my family members and lived in hiding for 5 years in China. We arrived in South Korea in 2001. I went to university in Seoul. Since 2006, I have worked in North Korea human rights advocacy and provide educational support for defectors in South Korea through my organization PSCORE. PSCORE works to improve the human rights situation in North Korea with a priority of saving the lives of the people living there. Ultimately, PSCORE works to contribute world peace by alleviating political and military tension surrounding North Korea. World peace is a noble value to be shared with you. Tonight, I will present on the role civil society plays in defending human rights. I will be speaking about this topic in conjunction with the human rights crisis in North Korea. Most of you will have heard of North Korea on TV as one of the world's poorest socialist states that spend a lot of money on nuclear development while its people are starving. You may also know of the Kim family's iron fist rule for more than 60 years in the end of the 1990s and early 2000s. The government became notorious for producing counterfeit money and drugs. Recently, the international community, including United Nations, has called attention to the state's grave human rights issue. Words like darkness, seclusion, dangerous will describe North Korea. I begin this conversation with you with a heavy heart, for I must be dispassionate toward the country I was born in. I love more than anything my home country where I was born and where my beloved people are. I cannot just sit back and watch the rights of those people be trampled on by their own government. I ask the world to save those people. 북한의 철권 통치는 역사적으로 보나 전 세계적으로 유례가 없습니다. 이렇게 완벽하게 사람들
North Korea's authoritarian rule is unprecedented, both in the history of the state and the world. What other country controls its people so completely? North Korea annihilates the fundamental rights of its people. Despite the constitution, human rights do not exist. In North Korea, there is something called the 10 Principles of the Workers' Party ideology. The 10 Principles are used to officially idolize the Kims. In fact, the 10 Principles allow the leader to wield absolute power and have higher authority than law. All the people in North Korea must adhere to the 10 Principles of the Workers' Party ideology and are forced to take them as 10 commandments. In North Korea's constitution, there is a section that states the DPRK citizens' rights and obligations are based on the collectivism principle of one for all for one. This is used as a tool to explain the ironic system of North Korea. The logic is that an individual's rights and obligations must not come before the gains of the North Korean system, and that citizens must follow the leader's commands within this monolithic ideology. North Korea not only maintains its control internally, but also externally in diplomatic relations. Any action taken to threaten the North Korean system is unacceptable to the government. By providing state-controlled media and blocking free foreign media, North Korea completely controls its people's access to information. Practicing religion is not permitted, nor is forming private groups. Even the freedom of movement is prohibited, so the people cannot go looking for food elsewhere. The lives of ordinary citizens are most in danger. In order to maintain this notorious system, North Korea has been using strict surveillance, similar to the former East Germany, where husbands and wives would spy on each other, or children on their parents. In North Korea, the State Security Agency and the Workers' Party collect information on citizens' every action and thought. Ultimately, those who are found to oppose the government are sent to political prison camps or other detention facilities, or, in some cases, sentenced to public execution. The government of North Korea has denied the existence of political prison camps. However, North Koreans who escaped the prison camps have testified about their existence. Currently, there are about 5 political prison camps in North Korea, and an estimated 150,000 inmates are imprisoned there. Most of the inmates are sent to political prison camps on the charge that they criticize the government or the Kim family, or escaped to China. Most political criminals are sent as family units, and recently, those who have been forcibly repatriated by China are sent as well. Their identification is taken away when arrested, and they are not ensured legal protection. Political prisoners do forced labor in isolated regions. From the moment of entering the camp, they are not guaranteed the security of life.
North Korea, I witnessed public execution. When I was 9, a criminal was executed by the village riverside. The police tied up the man's hands and feet. His mouth was gagged and his eyes blindfolded. He came on a truck. The police announced that he was guilty of robbery and that he was sentenced to the death penalty. The man was hanged and died within 10 minutes. That was the first time I witnessed a public execution. Afterwards, I was forced to watch many other executions by firing squads. The North Korean government continues to have public execution in order to arouse fear in the people for crimes as basic as stealing food due to hunger. 90년대 중반이 되면서 북한의 식량 자족은 매우 악화되었습니다. 이동의 자유도 없는
The food situation in North Korea was exacerbated in the mid-90s. Without freedom of movement, people helplessly died. As stealing increased for survival, the government used public executions to instill fear and maintain their rule. But people didn't stop fighting for survival. They stole and sold machine parts from closed factories or traded electric wires for food. There were many people who traveled without travel permits in search of food. In the mid-90s, mass defection to China occurred. Many of those who defect are sent back to North Korea due to China's forced repatriation policy. What the news they acquire from the outside world upon returning to North Korea provides useful information for others. Currently, there are 1,500 to 3,000 defectors coming into South Korea every year. Despite risking their lives, North Koreans defect because they've decided they can't just die at home. After Kim Jong-un came to power, border patrol was strengthened. With stricter border control, the number of North Korean defectors arriving in South Korea has decreased over the past 3 years. However, I believe that while Kim Jong-un's system of border control may be effective in the short term, it is impossible to sustain in the longer term. The lives of the North Korean people are becoming more impoverished because the state cannot carry out an economic reform immediately, and those who successfully defect to South Korea are recommending those left in North Korea to do the same. On the 17th this month, the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva will present the report of the Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in the DPRK. Initially, the Commission was planning to investigate within North Korea, but its request was denied. China also refused to allow the Commission to investigate in the China-North Korea border region on the North Korean defectors living in dire conditions there. The COI report was compiled by collecting testimonies from public hearings and confidential interviews with defectors, abductee families, and experts. The COI report is a reliable source of evidence that I expect will help us to understand the problems in North Korea. Due to historical, geopolitical factors, it is difficult for North Korea to change on its own. North Koreans have never experienced democracy. Immediately after Japanese colonial rule, North Koreans were under Kim Il-sung's dictatorship. Koreans fought against each other for 3 years in the Korean War. The North Korean people were taught to believe that the Korean War was an invasion by the United States. North Koreans are easily persuaded that the state must reinforce its army to protect itself. Geopolitically, it is beneficial for China to help North Korea maintain its system. China continues to exercise its forcible repatriation policy, provides North Korea resources such as petroleum, and 90% of products traded in North Korea are Chinese products. Because North Korea fails to change on its own, the international community's involvement in advocating for North Korean human rights is absolutely necessary. The international community, including the UN, has addressed the human rights situation in North Korea. More and more states are calling upon North Korean human rights. Recently, the UNHRC unanimously adopted a draft resolution condemning human rights violations in the DPRK. These outcomes have brought about some changes to North Korea. Between the mid-1990s and early 2000s, public executions decreased until Kim Jong-un came to power. Also, North Korea's socialist constitution writes that the state respects and protects human rights. As such, pressure exerted by the international community has been shown to bring about change inside North Korea. In 2012, when PSCORE received special consultative status from the UN Economic and Social Council, I became the first North Korean defector to testify about the human rights situation in North Korea to the UN. Becoming aware of the issues is the first step for civil society. As such, PSCORE publishes reports based on confidential interviews with defectors in Korean, English, and French to reach out to the international community.
On behalf of PSCORE, I ask you to speak out to the community you are a part of. The international community must take action for North Korea's human rights. I'm not asking for your help because North Korea is my home country.
This is a state in which its people are strictly monitored and controlled with violence and fear. Governance not by the people, but by one individual's privatized control is too dangerous, and the suspected nuclear weapons developed by the state could lead to disaster for humanity. The human rights issue of North Korea is the shared concern of humanity. Working as an NGO for North Korean human rights in South Korea, where there has not yet been social agreement, is very challenging. There are many people in South Korea who point out that addressing North Korean human rights causes friction against the North Korean government, and that it disallows negotiation between North and South Korea. This criticism, however, is ironic, since it is voiced by those who fought for South Korea's democracy. They consider the value of the North Korean human rights different to their own. Fortunately, many foreign nationals are helping out at PSCORE. We are a South Korean organization where foreign nationals outnumber South Koreans. In closing, I would like to ask for your support in our works of North Korean human rights advocacy and education for defectors. You can join our movement for change through petitions and campaigns via Facebook and support us financially through donations. Thank you.